AFR On Demand is brought to you by Breck Golf. Try Beaver Creek today, just 20 minutes from downtown Baton Rouge in the Zachary area. They've got a PGA Tour driving range, a short game practice area, 30 to 40-yard practice shots. It's a great place to chip and putt and practice if you don't have time for a full round. Book your tee time today, golf.breck.org, golf.breck.org.
Matt Moscona.
I'm very important.
After further review.
Say it one more time.
After further review with Matt Moscona.
And here we go.
Live from the Raising Cane studio.
Let's ride! Woo!
Hour 3. Off we go. Welcome aboard. Glad you're with us. AFR presented by Decision Critical Concierge Nursing. I'm Matt.
This is Shaq O'Neal, and I hate Matt.
Paul O'Neal.
They're chanting Paul O'Neal's name.
And Mr. Toby Tombley. All right, we're here. Glad you are as well. Get out there and make it a good one. 5 o'clock quitting time. Glad you are driving home with us. Earlier on Thursday, Jeff Duncan broke the news that the New Orleans Saints and the state of Louisiana had extended their lease to keep the Saints in the Superdome for another decade. Mrs. Benson, the governor, made that announcement at the Dome earlier today, really as we were starting the show, and Jeff's good enough to join us for a couple of minutes here. Hey, man, thank you. How are you?
Hey, Matt, just off deadline, perfect timing.
Good, man. We appreciate it. Glad when things work out like this. Okay, so let's talk about the terms of this new deal.
Well, it's really a 10-year deal with 4 5-year options at the end that belong to the Saints to re-up. So as much as we want to say it's a long-term deal, I think it's really more of a short-term deal for 10 years, and I think there's a couple of reasons for that, Matt. We just saw 30-year lease agreements in Buffalo with the Bills and in Jacksonville with the Jaguars. And I think the state and the city would have liked to lock up this team for 30 years ironclad. But the reality is this is not a new stadium. It's a 50-year-old building that, yes, it's been renovated to the tune of $500 million, but it's still not new. And the fact is, Gail Benson's 78, will be pushing 90 at the end of this 10-year period, and there's going to be an ownership change at some point. And I think the NFL wanting flexibility to not lock in a new owner down the road to maybe an old stadium, or give them flexibility on the asking price for the New Orleans Saints when that sale takes place. I think all those things played a factor into why this deal isn't quite as ironclad long-term as maybe some other ones.
It felt like this deal was maybe halted. It was slow to get moving. Maybe you just explained it, Jeff, but what were the reasons that this one maybe took a little more time than they thought to get done?
Well, they're very complicated deals now. If you look around the NFL and around the nation, a lot of them involve real estate, merchandising, commercial interests. There's way more than just a football stadium now. If you look at the deal being proposed up in Chicago, out in Arlington, it's a $5.5 billion deal, Matt, and it includes 2 hotels, real estate, like I said, a lot of commercial, retail outlets. That's the way this thing is all going. It's not just going to be a stadium like Lambeau Field. That's kind of the way of the past. And I think the Saints were trying to fold in. Well, they were trying to fold in the Benson Tower lease, which is the skyscraper right there next to the Superdome, Champion Square, which is the entertainment venue. All these things work together, and it got very complicated. And a lot of it had to do with leverage. The Saints want leverage to try and make the state stay in those office towers at the lease rate that they have, and the state wants flexibility to get out of them. And so somebody had to give, and I think both sides ended up compromising.
Okay. Jeff Duncan's with us. He's on Twitter, X at Jeff Duncan _. You can read about this over at NOLA.com, the Times-Picayune. maybe a thought, I'm asking you to editorialize a bit here on the significance of getting this deal done?
Well, look, I think it was very important to lock up the team long term. I do think, and a little shameless self-promotion here, my column will be up on NOLA.com soon about the long-term implications. I think there is reason to be concerned about the long-term future of the team here because we don't have a new stadium here, because this deal only lasts for 10 years, and there's no indication that the New Orleans Saints and the current administration, Dennis Lausch is a New Orleans native, Gail Benson's a New Orleans native, they vowed to keep the team here. It's beyond their tenure that I think leads to the uncertainty. They can now pick the next owner, from a bid process. That's one thing I've found out, Matt, is it doesn't have to necessarily go to the highest bidder. It can go to the ownership group that Gail Benson's trustees can pick, but it still has to be approved by the league. So in the end, the league will decide who the next owner is of the New Orleans Saints, and I think that's when the uncertainty kind of gets there. And I understand why we don't have an ironclad 30-year deal because of that uncertainty, but it's still, nevertheless, I think cause for concern, once we get to 2035.
Jeff, will Gail Benson sell a team in her lifetime? Or will this be executed after she dies?
She's indicated she's going to keep the team until she dies, and has enlisted her general manager. And that's one of the reasons, a lot of Saints fans, are up in arms about Mickey Loomis and want him out of here. He's not getting fired. I mean, he's one of the trustees that's going to be in charge of picking the next owner of the team. Now, he may be in a different role. I could possibly see that happening, but he's not going to ever be fired from the New Orleans Saints because he's so deeply ingrained in the hierarchy of this organization. Very unique, the role that he's in as far as being entrusted with picking the next owners, along with Dennis Lauscha and Greg Bensel and the rest of the management team. So I think people are kind of barking up the wrong tree trying to get him run out of here.
Do we know if there have? Let me ask a more blunt question. I get asked all the time about Todd Graves, who's a billionaire from Louisiana who might be in line. Do we know if there's interest there?
I've been told he's extremely interested in owning the New Orleans Saints, but publicly he's never going to say that. He has great respect for Gail Benson and does not want to be seen as a stalking horse or looming over her shoulder in any way. He has too much respect for her and her ownership. But rest assured, he will have to be vetted by the NFL. I mean, the reality is any NFL owner could have a tragedy any day, and they have to be an ownership group lined up to be vetted to one day potentially own the team. So I assume Todd Graves has already gone through that process or is in the process of doing it. But I think it would take more than just Todd Graves. I think it would take a consortium and a partnership. That's how most of these things work these days.
Sure. Just a couple of more, and Jeff Duncan's with us, NOLA.com, the Times-Picayune. If you missed it, the Saints and the state of Louisiana have agreed to a new 10-year lease, keeping the Saints at the Dome in New Orleans with team options for an additional 20 years as we go in 5-year intervals. I know this is significant for the Super Bowl as well. Can you walk us through the particulars there?
That's very much up in the air. I'm a little more discouraged after talking to people today at the ceremony than I was. I thought this was kind of a rubber stamp once the deal got done, but there's been some feathers ruffled in Park Avenue as I understand it. I think that's going to be a very competitive process to try and get that 2031 Super Bowl. And as I understand it, Matt, it's really the only year that the city can host the game until we get all the way out to 2038 because of conflicts with Mardi Gras, some major conventions that are booked. That's the year. So hopefully the NFL sympathizes and recognizes the unique circumstances surrounding this lease agreement and our jam schedule. We have to deal with Mardi Gras where other metro areas don't have to deal with that. Hopefully they understand that. And I know they were very satisfied with this past Super Bowl. But again, it's business, and there's a lot of competition. Chicago, like I said, is going to have a new stadium built around 2030. Would they get a game? We know one's coming online in Nashville, a $2 billion stadium. There's just a lot of competition for these big games.
Last thing for you, the new stadium piece of it. What is the realistic possibility that we see a new stadium adorning the New Orleans skyline?
I really believe it's going to come down to the new owner. And I think that's also why this deal is a 10-year deal with 5-year options, because they don't want to lock into the Dome long term. And I think it will require a deep-pocketed owner, like a Todd Graves, frankly, that would have enough money and capital and liquidity to put up money to build. These stadiums now, like I mentioned, are minimum $2 billion. There's no way that Gail Benson can afford that. All of her money is tied up in the value of the teams. So it would take a new owner, and I think that's a very real possibility for the new owner, whoever owns this team, say in 2040 or so, to build a new stadium. I think that's part of why this deal is not quite as long-term and ironclad as we probably all would like.
Jeff broke the news, and he's got a column coming soon, as he just told us there at NOLA.com, the Times-Picayune. Be sure to follow him there on Twitter as well, at Jeff Duncan _ at Jeff Duncan _ Always appreciate the time. Thank you.
Anytime, Matt. Take care, buddy.
All right. It's our pleasure. It's After Further Review. We're brought to you by South Point Volkswagen and SouthPointVW.com. New and certified pre-owned in Baton Rouge and online at SouthPointVW.com, SouthPointVW.com. If it's on the lot, it's online at SouthPointVW.com. Remember, all the inventory, new or certified pre-owned. You can shop it online and go and see our friends over at South Point Volkswagen. How about 1.9% on 2025 Atlas right now? That's a 3-row, 7-seater family SUV. $2,500 customer bonus on the Atlas Crossport. That's what I drive, is the Atlas Crossport. 2.9% on 2025 Tiguan. You want to get into a brand new Volkswagen? This is the time. We get a great deal over at South Point Volkswagen. Airline just north of Highland, or SouthPointVW.com, SouthPointVW.com, South Point Volkswagen. What's your direction? All right, y'all, it is After Further Review. Appreciate Jeff for hanging out with us. Lee Sterling last hour. We had our Fantasy Blitz in hour 1. Mike Triplett's coming up here in about 17 minutes from right now. Yes, we are going to have Mike back on the show. Mike said last week when we called him, he's like, still calling me, huh? After the loss to Seattle, it was tenuous. But Saints have a good shot, I think, to snag a win this week. We'll talk to Mike Triplett here in about 17 minutes from right now. If you want to react to the Saints, the Dome, the lease, feel free to do that. Email us, tweet us, text 225-396-4400, 396-4400, 396-4400. Lots of ways that you could do that. Brian Kelly also answered some questions yesterday about Michael Van Buren. We'll let you hear what he had to say. I have some thoughts on that. We'll get to it next on AFR.
AFR.
GLO, glowresources.com, glowresources.com. They're complete employer solutions. That's Glow Resources. Home base is right there on Perkins Road in Baton Rouge at Quail Oaks, right next to Pennington. But while home base is Baton Rouge and they service businesses in Baton Rouge and New Orleans, they've got offices all over. Miami, Orlando, Houston. They're everywhere. And they serve businesses all over the country, doing work all over the world. So it doesn't matter what sector your business is in. You got to have the right people. It's true in any business. I know in roofing and radio, and no matter what you're in, skilled blue-collar labor, if it's legal or accounting or whatever you do, you got to have the right people. And if you're looking for permanent solutions, that's what Glow Resources does, and they guarantee they'll find you that answer. If they don't, they'll give you a prorated refund or find a new employee for free. GlowResources.com.
After Further Review with Matt Moscona, presented by Decision Critical Concierge Nursing. Healthcare for your lifestyle. Learn more at DecisionCriticalBR.com.
Always appreciate our friends over at Decision Critical. Blasia and the crew do an awesome job. Posted a reel on social media chatting with Blasia earlier today over at the office. Talking about postpartum care. Maybe you're bringing home a new baby from the hospital. Maybe you have a NICU stay and you need nursing care. Decision Critical can help with that, from beginning of life to end of life care and everything in between. It's not just healthcare. It's healthcare for your lifestyle. DecisionCriticalBR.com. DecisionCriticalBR.com. Brian Kelly met with reporters after practice on Wednesday, and with all the questions that most people are having around Garrett Nussmeier, naturally a lot of the attention is directed toward the backup quarterback, and that, in this case, is Michael Van Buren. Brian Kelly was asked about about Van Buren on Monday, and it's with Nussmeier sort of just getting a rest week. It's been a really good opportunity for Michael Van Buren.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a great opportunity for him. We're going to give Garrett some time to rest here this week, make sure he's fully at 100%. And Michael got all the first-team reps in articulation, so he did a great job. He's still learning, but, as we said, we feel confident in his ability.
Van Buren played a year ago for Mississippi State, as we know, and in the 10 games he played, with 8 starts, he completed 54% of his passes, 11 touchdowns, 7 interceptions, which objectively wasn't great, but again, a different team and a true freshman kind of feeling his way for the first time. I know there's a lot of people that have talked about Van Buren from the run game standpoint. As a matter of fact, that's one of the questions that Brian Kelly was asked, if they have a short yardage package for Michael Van Buren. And I think Brian Kelly's answer here is very revealing about how they perceive their offense.
Yeah, we have that package in. We have short yardage runs for quarterbacks. It's just I'm not going to take Garrett Nussmeier out of the game to run short yardage. So we've predicated all that on the type of formations that we run in short yardage, and we gear it towards our quarterback. If he's not our quarterback, we have some different answers if it's Michael.
By the way, I completely agree with that. If you're backup, if you're Florida in 2006, and Chris Leak is a senior and he's your starter and he's played a ton, but you've got a true freshman in Tim Tebow that presents a really dynamic skill set, not a different skill set, a dynamic skill set. The ability to be a bowling ball, an automatic in short yardage, who also can throw the football. I'm going to find a role for that guy. Is Michael Van Buren that guy? I don't think so. By the way, in the 10 games that Michael Van Buren played a year ago, and this isn't meant to be disparaging to Van Buren, I think he's a talented young guy who's got a real high ceiling. I mean, he flashes at times. He was very inconsistent in fall camp. I mean, there were a lot of times we sat here and told you both Van Buren and Colin Hurley struggled with accuracy against air. And I'm not super impressed by the fact that he played really well against an FCS team where he entered up 6 touchdowns. It's dramatically different when you're talking about trying to play SEC games on Saturday nights for keeps. But anyway, high ceiling. He's made some beautiful plays as well. But last year at Mississippi State, in the 10 games he played, Van Buren carried 69 times for negative 12 yards. I mean, if you sack adjust that, he ran for a little more than 100 yards on the season, because rushing sacks count against rushing stats, which is stupid. But the point still remains, it's not like you're not talking about freshman Tim Tebow. You're not talking about Lamar Jackson at Louisville. You're not talking about this guy that is such a dynamic playmaker that you just have to find a way to get him on the field. My point would be, in short yardage, if you want to run the football, give the ball to your running backs who are on scholarship to carry the football, which I think LSU has done a very poor job of so far this year. We've talked about it plenty. Is it Joe Sloan just not calling it? Is it Garrett Nussmeier checking out of it? Is it not calling it because you don't trust your offensive line? You didn't have Caden Durham against Ole Miss. There's a lot of possibilities, and the only people that really, truly know the answer are the ones in the building. But while I think Van Buren's a good player with a high upside, I agree with Brian Kelly. I don't want to take Garrett Nussmeier off the field. Because as long as Nussmeier's on the field, a defense has to respect his ability to throw the ball. Because he's awesome at it. And struggles this year, understood. But he's proven he's an elite level passer when he's at his best. So you at least have to respect that. And by the way, they've run 3 quarterback sneaks with Nussmeier this year to convert. So in short yardage, they'll let Nussmeier sneak it. They have the ability to throw the football. And I don't know that Van Buren provides such a dynamic skill set that you can justify taking Nussmeier off the field to put Van Buren in. What I would also suggest is, and this isn't something that is exclusive to us in the media who watch them. If you were at the spring game or the spring scrimmage, whatever they called it, they ran a goal line period where they showed Juwan Johnson in the Wildcat with Nussmeier on the field. Nuss flexed out to the left. Juwan Johnson was in the single wing, carried the ball straight in for a touchdown. That's Juwan Johnson, who is actually a running back for you now, who can throw the football, threw for 10,000 yards in his high school career. That's a better option, keeping Nussmeier on the field and having Juwan Johnson as that versatile piece, which clearly they have in the playbook. We saw them run it. That's a better option than taking Nussmeier off the field to put Van Buren in my opinion. Brian Kelly agrees. I think he's right. So we all understand they've got to spend this time here in the open day to get healthy and to figure out a way to be more productive offensively. And I can understand asking the question about Van Buren, but I agree with Brian Kelly's answer that I don't want to take Garrett Nussmeier off the field. Short yardage, long yardage, it don't matter. Unless if you had an undeniable, dynamic talent standing on the sideline who alters the math for you offensively, like Tebow did as a freshman and throughout his career, then I'm not taking my quarterback off the field. Good opportunity for LSU against South Carolina a week from Saturday. Get Caden Durham healthy. See how your offensive line fares. And that South Carolina defensive front was so good a year ago. But Kennard's gone and Tonka Hemingway's gone. Emmett Warry's gone. I mean, so many of the guys that made that South Carolina team. Look, you talk all you want about Lenore Sellers, man. Lenore Sellers is an enigma. He is an amazing athlete. He is just not a great quarterback today. It's the thing I've been saying when I laughed at the media for voting preseason first team all SEC. I mean, yeah, he's a big old dude that can tuck it and run over you. But he's also a dude that's going to put the ball in harm's way and make bad decisions and is an inaccurate passer. And is nowhere near an elite level quarterback at this point in his career. But the bigger thing about South Carolina is that a year ago, that was an elite level defensive team. And they're just not this year. And now they got to go on the road to Baton Rouge. Both teams coming off an open date when they play a week from Saturday in Tiger Stadium. All right, it's after further review. We're brought to you by Shaw Bills Tire and Auto Service, ShawBillsTire.com. Locations all over South Louisiana. You know where to find them. ShawBillsTire.com, ShawBillsTire.com. Name brand tires at wholesale prices. They'll treat you like family and keep you coming back year after year after year because they'll take great care of your vehicle. They'll do it at a fair price, and they'll treat you like family. So why would you go anywhere else? You wouldn't. That's why you go to Shaw Bills. ShawBillsTire.com. ShawBillsTire.com. Schedule service online. Shop tires online. It's Shaw Bills Tire and Auto Service. You'll have a great experience just like I have had so many times over the years, members of my family, and so many of you that have continued to tell me throughout the years about your experience. Remember, the Charlie's Dozen, a dozen benefits extended to you and every vehicle in your family when you buy your tires at Shaw Bills. ShawBillsTire.com. Shaw Bills. We keep you rolling. Okay, well, now I got a break. Mike Triplett when we come back. New Orleans football. Saints getting ready for the Giants. How's prep gone? What in the world is going on there with Chase Young? How does the offensive line look? Down a couple of starters right now. Can the Saints notch the first win of the Kellen Moore era? Talk about it with Mike Triplett when we come back next on AFR.
AFR.
Man, I'm pretty excited. We're just a couple of weeks away from the centennial celebration over at Watermark Baton Rouge. It's going to be 3 nights of events at Watermark Baton Rouge, all celebrating 100 years of that historic building in downtown Baton Rouge. The original Louisiana National Bank building, which is now Watermark Baton Rouge. They've kept so much of the historical significance of that building in place. A lot of the original marble, the original artwork, the original staircases. It's a gorgeous piece of Louisiana and Baton Rouge history. When you walk into it, you'll understand what I mean. But they've upgraded with a lot of modern amenities to make it the premier hotel property in Baton Rouge. As a matter of fact, Watermark Baton Rouge voted by you the best hotel in Baton Rouge in the Best of 225 awards. So if if you're looking for a staycation, Watermark Baton Rouge. Maybe you live outside of Baton Rouge, you're coming in for a game, book it, Watermark Baton Rouge. Very convenient, downtown and convenient to LSU. And always, if you have an event, remember, downtown at Watermark Baton Rouge.
After Further Review with Matt Moscona, presented by Decision Critical Concierge Nursing. Healthcare for your lifestyle. Learn more at decisioncriticalbr.com.
Mike! Yeah?
New Orleans Saints coverage with some Mad Libs mixed in.
Why don't you just go by Mike?
It's time to talk black and gold with Mike Triplett of New Orleans Football. Presented by Benny's Car Wash. Family owned and operated since 1951.
Yes, we called him again. How are you, Mike?
Doing good. How are you?
I'm doing really well. Way better than Chase Young, apparently. Can you please explain to me what in the world happened there?
I mean, I don't have a good explanation other than, obviously everyone involved thought it was minor from the beginning. Not only did Chase Young exuberantly say he thought it was no big deal. That's what we heard. That's what the Saints said. Saints didn't put him on IR. They expected 2 to 3 weeks, and now we're going on week 5. So it was more expensive than originally thought, I guess. I don't believe it was a re-injury situation, but very annoying. He'd be a helpful player to have on the field.
Is there any Mike, I look at this just as a inquisitive mind, and I say clearly one or two things happen. I say, okay, either they grossly misdiagnosed this, which is possible, or he's able to come back and just isn't. Is there gray area there potentially?
I mean, obviously, potentially gray area, yes. I mean, the difference between 3 and 6 weeks, the difference between, I feel 75%, I feel 85%, I feel 95%, all that stuff is gray area. I mean, when it's these kind of injuries that aren't a broken bone or anything like that, there's a lot of, sometimes guys take longer, some guys don't feel quite right. Are you willing to play at 80% with certain teams and situations, but you got to be 100% in other situations? I mean, I don't know which shade of gray we're talking about, but yeah, I mean, it exists somewhere in between all of those possibilities.
Okay. What do they do on the offensive line this week?
Trevor Penning practiced again today, which is good.
Good.
So it looks like they'll only be down one man, which is Cesar Ruiz, and he could miss multiple weeks. And obviously Torricelli Simpkins has been filling in for both of those guys when needed at either spot. He's the most likely next man up. But it's not great. It's not great to have a slightly banged up Trevor Penning just one game after he came back, and an undrafted rookie who is overachieving in Simpkins, but is still, an undrafted rookie with very little experience. So that really stinks because they finally got their starting 5 out there last week. They decided to make a run-heavy game plan, and they ran the ball great. And that is what they wanted to be. That's what they want to be. And injuries always throw a wrinkle into that. But it's, at least they do have McCoy and their tackles, who I would argue are their most important offensive line.
If you flip it over on Thursday's injury report, Devon Gottschall had a veteran rest day, so he was a DNP. But then Isaac Yadam was downgraded from limited to a DNP. If he doesn't play, what do they do at corner?
Well, I mean, obviously Quincy Riley's been seeing more and more playing time as that third guy. And Yadam is the third guy, even though he starts, sometimes when they're in nickel. He's the third, even though he starts on the outside when they start in nickel. He's the third guy when it comes to snaps. Riley has been chipping away at that anyway for a number of reasons. One, he's probably earned some playing time. 2, this is a team that knows it's rebuilding and it wants to look at its younger players and give them some experience. And 3, Yadam has this weird thing where if he plays 33% or more of his snaps this year, he qualifies as a certain level of free agent. They could lose a compensatory pick next year. And this is a team that should not be giving up a draft pick to play Isaac Yadam more, especially now that they're 0-4. So when you add all of those things together, I think even when Yadam is healthy, we're going to see a lot more Quincy Riley playing that spot.
Okay, great tidbit. Mike Triplett's with us. Get him at Mike Triplett, NewOrleans.football. Our chats with Mike every week are brought to you by Benny's Car Wash. Matter of fact, I rolled through Benny's earlier today. I'm an Unlimited Car Wash Club member. Would highly recommend it to you as well. I think it starts at like $17 a month. It's super easy. Do it. Benny'sCarWash.com. Benny'sCarWash.com. Mike, we saw that Foster Moreau and Taysom Hill return to practice this week.
Yeah.
That's fantastic news. I mean, anything helps here. So when realistically do we think we're going to see them in a game?
That is really tough to say because these are not just guys who started the year on IR because they got hurt in August and they were going to miss 6 weeks. I mean, these are guys who haven't played football since last season. They didn't have a training camp practice. They didn't have a mini camp practice. So how long will it take them to ramp up? I think they've done everything physically they could do. I think the Saints were overcautious with them, gave them ample time to return, their conditioning, their health, the state of their knees, all of that. But how long do you need before it feels like you're ready for a football season when the science has made it that you want to have OTAs, minicamp, and training camp to get ready for a football season? I don't have a lot of comparisons, to be honest. And so it's going to be unique, as we figured out. I know from talking with Foster Moreau, he feels as good as he can possibly feel, but how quickly can you condense it? He had a good kind of comparison yesterday. He said every rep he takes in practice is like 1 day of training camp practice. That's his formula right now. But I imagine it'll be at least a couple of weeks, and I imagine it'll be a baby steps thing as they go. I mean, I don't think we're going to see, hey, by next week, 40, 50 snaps.
Right.
And it's going to be particularly interesting with Taysom Hill because there's also they haven't gotten a chance to implement Taysom plays into their playbook. I mean, offensive linemen need to know how to block those. These coaches need to know how to design those. So I imagine he'll be a guy that is very slowly ramped back up into being Taysom Hill.
Let's assume they both do get healthy to themselves. How impactful is that on this year's team?
Well, Foster Moreau would help at tight end because I think that's kind of one of their thinnest and most unproven positions. They've got behind Juwan Johnson, they've had Jack Stoll and the rookie 7th-round pick, Maliki Mataveo, playing a lot of snaps. Foster Moreau could step right in and really help that position group as both a pass catcher and a blocker and a veteran leader and all that. I think it'll be pretty easy to get him acclimated. Taysom Hill's pretty fascinating. I mean, last year, Clint Kubiak flew to see Taysom Hill in February and designed his playbook around him and made him a fullback and made him more a part of the offense than we've ever seen before. And he was an NFC Offensive Player of the Week last year. I just don't know how you can do that. I mean, I'm kind of picturing what Kellen Moore said when they traded for Devon Vele late in August, and he compared it to when the Eagles traded for Jahan Dotson late in August the year before. That it's you kind of give them one little section of the playbook at first. You work on that for a while. Maybe you add to that. I just have a hard time thinking that this team is all of a sudden going to be in the Taysom business when these coaches have never even gotten a chance to work with them before.
That's a great point. They got a great opportunity this week, Mike. I mean, there's no way around it. They're favored for the first time. This team hasn't even led in a game yet this year through 4 weeks. When you look at this matchup with LSU, or excuse me, I'm looking at something else, with the Saints and the Giants. When you look at this matchup, where do you perceive maybe the Saints to have advantages in the Dome?
Well, a lot of places. I mean, the Giants are not a great team. We saw a lousy Saints team go into New York and beat them last year. Brian Brzez's good at blocking their kicks. That's a big advantage for the Saints in this game. But look, the scariest thing about their team was Malik Neighbors, and you had LSU on the brain for good reason. I mean, he was the identity of this team, and that's a crushing blow for them. I hate to see it.
Yeah.
And then it's a crushing blow for Jackson Dart, who is now getting to show everyone what he is, and he lost the go-to guy that he has there. So yeah, the Giants' offense is going to be a work in progress, and Jackson Dart did win his first game last year. He threw for 111 and I think ran for 51. So the Saints got to see his blueprint. They got to see what he likes. They're probably going to try to take that running away from him and make him pass. They're going to try to whenever you get a rookie quarterback like that, you're going to try to disguise so he doesn't know exactly what he's looking at, confuse him that way. I'm sure Brandon Staley will do that. So that's where the advantages lie. It's the opposite on the other side of the ball. The Giants do have a good defense, especially a good defensive line that they added Abdul Carter to. The pressure they can bring up front is where the Giants have the advantage. But yeah, I think I made this point earlier. Like, I felt bad, like, talking about a moral victory, at Buffalo for a team that fell to 0-4. But we did like a lot of things we saw at Buffalo, against a really good team. There's no moral victories at home against New York. This has to be an actual, real victory.
It would be the first for Kellen Moore, the first for Spencer Rattler, who's 0-10 to start his career, as we all know. Great opportunity for the Saints on Sunday in the Dome. NewOrleans.football is where you read him. He's on Twitter at Mike Triplett. Y'all give him a follow. His chats with us every single Thursday here, presented by Benny's Car Wash. Benny'sCarWash.com, Benny'sCarWash.com. Go learn more about their unlimited membership clubs at Benny'sCarWash.com. Okay, Mike, we appreciate it as always, man. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
It's our pleasure. It is after further review. He's right. The matchup there with the Giants' amazing defensive line against a limited and at times inefficient and effective Saints offensive line feels like the thing the Saints have to shore up. But Saints can run the ball in this game the way they did last week in Buffalo. And Buffalo is the worst run defense. They're 32nd in the NFL in run defense. So not surprising you were able to run the ball. Can you do it against a good defensive front with New York? Kind of the game in the game. We're brought to you by First South Farm Credit, FirstSouthLand.com, FirstSouthLand.com. If you're thinking of buying land, your first call should be to First South Farm Credit. I always tell you there's a lot of reasons why. One of them is the patronage refund, which effectively lowers your cost of borrowing. And Eli Graham not only financed his farmland through First South Farm Credit, bought land to build his family's dream home as well. And when I had a chance to talk to Eli earlier this week, he explained the benefit for him personally with that patronage refund and also their ability to refinance.
The patronage program really was a key selling point. And then they'll do a rate adjustment. I just had one on my land loan. The interest rates went down, so they printed out some papers, and my wife and I signed them, and it's going to save us about $1,000 a year.
Also, about $1,000 a year. Also said that they've done business just side of the road. Loan officers pulled up. They've just signed paperwork on the hood of a car, the hood of a truck. That's how First South Farm Credit work. They're there for you. FirstSouthLand.com, FirstSouthLand.com. If you're thinking of buying land, your first call should be to First South Farm Credit. FirstSouthLand.com. Okay, y'all. It's after further review. Been a really good show. Glad to have you hanging out with us. No good on the first bet of the day for the Otter. We had the under and the Guardians. Missed on both of those, unfortunately. We did, however, hit on the Cubs. So the Cubs were a winner there. Like that. Otter gave out the baseball picks earlier, but we got that. We got Thursday Night Football. We'll get to Otter Locks to wrap up a busy Thursday AFR presented by Decision Critical Concierge Nursing. You can always learn more at DecisionCriticalBR.com, DecisionCriticalBR.com. We'll wrap up with Otter Locks next.
AFR.
Y'all get on by, see our friends at Clegg's Nursery with 4 locations in the greater Baton Rouge area. Fall is here. It's October. It is an awesome time to go see our friends at Clegg's Nursery. All the fall decor is there. If you're decorating your front porch, your back patio, your office building, amazing selection, and all the gorgeous fall bedding plants that they have as well. If you want to pick them up, you can do so at any of the 4 locations. Siegin Air Airline, LA 16 in Denham, Mid-City on Donmore, and the Garden Center on Greenwell Springs. Of course, those beautiful fall colors right now where you talk about the dark greens and the oranges and the browns, those earth tones that are so beautiful and add that pop of color to your flower bed, your patio pots, around the office. It's Clegg's Nursery. Remember, the Garden Center on Greenwell Springs, the largest garden center in the state of Louisiana, so they have an unmatched selection and amazing people as well there to help you. It's Clegg's Nursery. So, buy local, shop local, and be sure to tell them Matt sent you in to Clegg's Nursery.
After further review with Matt Moscona, presented by Decision Critical Concierge Nursing. Healthcare for your lifestyle. Learn more at DecisionCriticalBR.com.
Down the stretch we come, final segment here on a Thursday edition of AFR. One thing left to do. Find out what we're betting on tonight. Time for Otter Locks.
Otter Locks.
All right, time to win some money.
Presented by Total Maintenance AC Repair. Same-day service means you will never sleep hot. 480-1000. We are Total Maintenance.
I think it's safe to say that I won the bet.
Otter, how are you?
Oh, good, Matt. How about you?
Really well. Split the first 2 baseball games. Got a night game. Got some college football. Got an NFL game. A smorgasbord, man. What do we like tonight?
Well, the Cubs aren't home yet. They're 2-0.
Oh, is that not over? Oh, it was on.
No.
It was on TV. What happened? Shut off. Okay. What's the score?
2-0 in the 6th.
Okay.
The Cubs got 2 in the first, I think it was, or the second. But had base 2 in, base loaded, nobody out.
Okay.
Didn't get any more, and that's where we stand right now. Still 2-0. That's predicted that Yu Darvish had his struggles. So we're going to go with the Yankees again tonight in Game 3 at the Bronx. So young kid for the Yankees. He has been on a roll coming into this one. This is where Boston's really going to pay not having Lucas Giolito. So we know about one former White Sox that they shut him down a couple of nights ago in Crochet, but Giolito is unavailable for this series and for the remainder of the postseason should they advance. So I think it's going to come to bite them tonight. We like the Yankees in a close one. It was a tough beat on our run line last night. It cost it because on the game-winning hit, what in the hell is the batter not going to second when Jazz has to come all the way, Chisholm has to come all the way to first to score on a bang-bang. Yeah. Of course, he would have scored in the next base hit, but it didn't have it. And in the football tonight, it's a mash unit. It's on my survivor pick as well.
Oh, wow.
With the Rams. Yeah, so San Francisco is really, really banged up. I mean, Pearsall is out. He was his favorite target. So it's McCaffrey. It's going to look like Alvin Kamara with all the attention they have on him a lot of times with the Saints. Rams got one guy to kind of keep under wraps. And because we're going to tack one on. We didn't put it on the website, but the under tonight. Divisional games have been really trending under, and I figure that San Francisco is going to have a lot of problems tonight offensively. So that's where the bulk of their injuries are. So to take the Rams, who were fortunate to win and cover. I agree. That was a popular pick on Football Sunday.
Oh, yeah.
But we'll take them minus the 8.5 tonight. So you want to have a little in-game teaser or, maybe part of your single-game parlay, Rams minus 2.5 and under 46.5 might be something to consider as well.
Okay, I like that. 46.5 and 2.5. Okay, I'm down with that action. Football Friday tomorrow?
Football Friday starts at 10 a.m. Richard and Charlie get it started. They looked at the All-22 cut, and we'll have a lot of feedback on their film study. So, and then picks, and more picks, man. A lot of home dogs tomorrow. We'll be talking about in college football. Yes, indeed.
Got a couple of unranked favored over ranked matchups as
you
well.
See that, huh?
Well, Muse pointed it out earlier today, so we know they're auto plays, so we'll look forward to cashing those tickets as well. All right, man. Have a great night. Good luck, and we'll look for you tomorrow at Rufino's.
All right, good luck.
All right, that is Jimmy Yacht. It's After Further Review. We're brought to you by Arco Power Systems, arco.com, arco.com, ARCCO, arco.com. I tell you all the time, we talk all the time in Louisiana, everywhere really on the Gulf Coast about generator power because right here in this storm belt, so we all deal at times with power outages. Well, Arco Power Systems, this is reliable energy solutions for businesses. Grocery stores, gas stations, banks, hospitals, schools, industrial facilities, any type of business. If you need standby generator power, a permanent solution, a rental option, servicing your generator, you want Arco Power Systems, ARCCO, 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 arco.com, arco.com, arco.com. They're right there on Airline Highway in Baton Rouge, but they have offices as far west as San Antonio, east to Mobile, north to Little Rock, Houston, Dallas. They are everywhere. Incredible business. It's critical backup energy solutions for the industrial sector and for all businesses. Arco.com, ARCCO, Arco.com for Arco Power Systems. All right, been a really good show. Appreciate y'all for hanging out with us here on today's episode presented by Decision Critical Concierge Nursing in Baton Rouge and all over the state of Louisiana. We do have Thursday night football, as Jimmy mentioned there. You also got a college game tonight. Hanny gave out a play. I didn't. What?
Hanny gave out a play on this game?
It's Sam Houston against New Mexico State. Okay. He's got a point here. Okay, so Sam, I don't know if I'm going to play it, but Sam Houston. What? Oh.
No, sorry. I was a little early.
Yeah, we're early. Okay. Yeah. Sam Houston has not covered at all this year.
Okay.
And they're a 2.5-point favorite in this ball game. I said, you know what? I'm going money line with New Mexico State at home.
Okay.
So I'm here to get wild tonight. I got action on Sam Houston and New Mexico State.
There's a number you can call for that.
We'll see you tomorrow at 3.
After further review.
Getting on down the road, I love telling you about Our Lady of the Lake, championship health partner of LSU Athletics. And my goodness, they've been an amazing partner of ours here as well on After Further Review and of our entire community, not just in Baton Rouge, but the entire state of Louisiana, because Our Lady of the Lake is part of the Franciscan Missionaries of Our Lady Health System. And the Sisters of the Franciscan Missionaries of Our Lady have made it the core of their mission for a century to provide exceptional health care through this health system for the areas that they serve. And Our Lady of the Lake is a gigantic part of that. And when you think of LSU, I want you to think of LSU and Our Lady of the Lake as interwoven. If you love LSU athletics, of course, the physicians at Our Lady of the Lake care and provide championship-level health care for the LSU athletes, football, baseball, basketball, every sport at LSU, but also the LSU Student Center and everyday champions like you and me. It's Our Lady of the Lake and LSU. Together, we roar.